What is going on, guys, and welcome back to Touchdowns to Home Runs. My name is Bernie. Thank you for joining us today on the Touchdowns to Home Runs show. Hope that your day is going absolutely fantastic. Now, we're still within a few months away from this year's NBA draft, but I think it's a really good time with the NBA season sort of winding down to start looking ahead to some of the players that could be the future of the NBA and potentially get drafted this year by your favorite team. So today we're going to be looking at Cade Cunningham, really the lock to go at the #1 overall pick. We'll be looking at sort of what we saw from him in the last college basketball season, breaking down his play style, and hopefully give you some insight as what to expect from Cade Cunningham when he reaches the NBA level. Now, just before we do get into the video, if you're wondering why sort of my cheek looks a bit puffy or if I sound a little bit weird throughout the video, I just got 2 wisdom teeth taken out just a couple of days ago and it still hasn't fully recovered, but I am trying my best to get this video out, so just bear with me again throughout the video. But anyways, Cade Cunningham, again, most sought out pick of this year, consensus #1 pick. If you know anything about Vegas odds, you'll know that the -400 that they have at Cade Cunningham going #1 is obviously a huge favorite, and he did officially declare for the NBA draft at the beginning of this month, actually right on April 1st. But if we go back to last college basketball season, what a year Cade Cunningham had. 20.1 points per game, 6.2 rebounds, 3.5 assists. And he did it with some great shooting slash lines. 44% from the field, 40% from 3, and about 86% from the free throw line. Coming into the season, some scouts were wondering, how consistent, how really good can Cade Cunningham shoot? And I think he exactly proved, how good of a scorer he is. He's really legitimate. I think he's transferable over to the NBA, as we'll break down in just a little bit. But again, we saw really the consistency in a very good Big 12 conference throughout the entire season. And because of those stats, he had some great accolades throughout the season. You're talking about the fourth freshman ever to win Big 12 Player of the Year. He won College Basketball Freshman of the Year and was also obviously a consensus first-team All-American pick. Obviously, Cade Cunningham led the way in what was a fantastic season for an Oklahoma State team that really had a program-changing year. You're talking about a 21-9 record in a very competitive Big 12 regular season. They finished the year 11th in the AP polls, a 4 seed in March Madness before losing to Oregon State in round 2 of March Madness. But they did make the Big 12 Conference Championship game in what was a great sort of finish to the year, had a lot of ranked wins. And of course, what's really impressive about that is Cade Cunningham was the leading scorer, really the backbone of this team. I thought he did a great job of scoring inside, scoring on the perimeter, and that's what makes Cade Cunningham really such a threat. When we look at a guy like Cade Cunningham, though, what exactly are we seeing? Well, the first thing that really pops out at you is he is a physical mismatch. You're talking about a guy who's 6'8", 220 pounds, only 19 years old, turns 20 later on this year. But when you look at him in terms of his really physique and his overall sort of body structure, his size and strength really mirror a guy like Luka Doncic and even a guy like really Ben Simmons when you think about what Cade Cunningham can do in terms of versatility-wise. He's got a really unique body frame that he uses to his advantage. He's a great sort of perimeter player, uses it sort of defensively, as we're going to talk about in a little bit, in his versatility. Also in terms of passing, being able to see around and over guys as well, find those passes, which gives him a lot of potential as well for the defense, become a better passer if he does remain a point guard. Also could potentially end up guarding, 3 or 4 positions at the NBA level. Cade Cunningham is really driven by his basketball IQ, though. When you're looking at a guard, usually you're talking about a guy who can create his own shots with those flashy dribble moves. That's not really Cade Cunningham, but he does have the basketball IQ. He's got great vision. Again, uses the length to see over sort of defenders. He's a great live ball passer. He's got the defensive IQ. He puts himself on the offensive side of the ball in a great position to find those good angles, get his teammates open looks, and he did have his fair share of assists over the course of this year as well. In terms of shooting, again, as I was sort of mentioning before, coming into the season, scouts were a little bit weary sort of how consistent Cade Cunningham would actually be, but he definitely proved the scouts wrong. He had a fantastic shooting season, as I mentioned before, with the shooting slash line, can shoot from inside. He's a great driver, can get downhill for sure, but he can also sort of beat you with 40% shooting from the three-point arc. He's really dangerous, and if he's getting those comparisons to Ben Simmons in terms of his versatility, keep in mind also he's a much better shooter than Ben Simmons. So, he could really be a generational player when you look at sort of the overall game that Cade Cunningham has. In terms of the defense, again, it uses that length very well, and that's really the sort of overall thing that I really like about Cade Cunningham. It's that length and that size that he really plays to his advantage. Oklahoma State last year really played a lot of zone, a 2-3 zone. He defended, in the corner, defended also in the paint as well. So, even though this doesn't really tell us how good he's going to be in terms of defense when he actually does reach the NBA. I think, all of this just shows not only the potential, but again, that versatility and that potential for versatility where he could defend those 3-4 positions in the NBA. I think there's also a thing to look at with Cade Cunningham in the fact that he actually decided to play out the college year. This was a year coming into the season. We saw a lot of the top recruits. We saw guys, Jalen Green, Kuminga, Knicks, Isaiah Todd, all go to the G League, try to play professional basketball, and skipping college. And I think there's really, sort of something to show about the commitment and sort of the competitiveness that this kid has, that Cade Cunningham has, in order to actually stay and compete in a very competitive Big 12 that he did this year for Oklahoma State. I also think that him going to Oklahoma State and playing in that Big 12 as opposed to going to the G League actually did better for him this year over the course of the season for his actual development. I think we saw Cade Cunningham develop as a scorer. I also think him getting, to lead a team through a lot of big games, a lot of ranked games, played some really good defenders, but some good overall teams. I think getting to see Cade Cunningham lead a team in comparison to what we didn't really see from those guys in the G League, I think, he stepped up his leadership, stepped up a lot of those sort of things that aren't necessarily measurable, that definitely look really, really good for NBA scouts, or really promising for NBA teams, and I think that definitely helped his draft stock. There's only really two things when I look at Cade Cunningham and sort of what he's going to need to improve when he does reach the NBA level, which is ball handling and explosiveness. I've talked about both of these throughout the video. It's not too much of a concern because, he is great at getting downhill. We saw him score inside, again, create his own shots, use that sort of basketball IQ to do it, even though he, doesn't necessarily have those flashy ball moves. But I think that if he does really want to develop into an NBA superstar, especially if he does remain at sort of a guard position and doesn't move down to a forward position, I think, that's only could be beneficial for him in order to improve those dribble moves, create his own shots off the dribble, and the explosiveness as well, become just a little bit better in the paint when he gets some more athletic defenders in the NBA. But I really do think, there's been a lot of years in the past where even when there's consensus #1 picks, I'm not completely sold on them. Like a couple years ago, I wasn't sold on a guy like Zion, even though, he's doing pretty good in the NBA right now. But Cade Cunningham is really that guy. I've watched him a bunch this year in college basketball, and I can tell you this kid is a generational player. He's got all the tools to be an all-around point guard at the NBA level, and I'm super excited to see what's next for this kid. But if you guys did make it to this point in the video, again, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Cade Cunningham and what you saw from him in this past college basketball season and what you expect from him at the NBA level. Let me know all of that down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy today's video, again, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to Touchdowns to Home Runs for full coverage on all the NBA draft prospects and also coverage on some teams leading up to the NBA draft. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you again next time.